What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys is some patch notes. We have the version 0.13 patch notes. This is Iggy patch, and this is the console patch. So there's a lot of stuff to go through today. We're gonna jump right into it. So I have looked through these already. I'm recording this separately from when I watched this on stream, just because it took like an hour plus to go through it on stream, and I'm gonna try and condense that a little bit. I'll go over the stuff that really is important and stuff like that, and kind of breeze past some of the stuff that doesn't matter as much. So this patch, again, this is the patch that will be going live on December the 5th, the first day that console is active and Iggy is live, and new items. That's the other thing. Sorry, I knew there was another thing. So, Iggy, of course, is coming in. If you guys, I'll leave a link to the patch notes in the description. I'm not going to watch these videos here. I'll, again, brief descriptor of his kit. Basically, his autos will slow people and apply a stack of slick, which is his passive. And when you hit people with fire abilities, your oil abilities will ignite, your slick abilities will ignite, and it does burn damage. So your autos apply that. They take damage based on how many stacks they have on them. His Q is his primary fire, or his turrets. These are the missile turrets. They count as fire abilities. They will ignite your oil abilities, like your auto attacks. They're fine. They proc items, so that's the one thing that I'm skeptical about, but we'll have to see, just how strong it really is. Oil spill. This is his E. He sends forth a little glob of oil, and it slows and damages people that hit it, and it leaves behind a big path of oil behind it, and then you can ignite that with your turrets, your ult, or your right click, and then it does burn damage and slows people again if they're standing on it. His alternate fire, his RMB, this is a Molotov. He just launches a Molotov. It does burst damage when it hits the ground, and it leaves a fire field that does burn damage to anyone standing within it. Ignites your oil abilities. Kind of cool. Ultimate, this is his Flame Belch ultimate. He barfs out a bunch of flame for a couple seconds, and then at the end, it does burst damage and knocks people back. You can reactivate this early to get the knockback and burst damage sooner, but you don't get, obviously, the full effects of the tick damage of the ultimate. So you can use it really fast for burst damage and a knockback, or you can channel it a little longer to get more damage out of it. This is fine. This is the better of the two Iggy ultimates that were in Paragon, so I'm glad that this is the one they went with. This looks cool. I don't mind it. I can't really make an opinion on Iggy until we play him in game. I personally, if I were to say, I think he will be very good, but I don't know yet. Other than that, Winterfest event. So there is a Winterfest event. Basically, just playing games will get you XP on like a battle pass track thing that will get you all of these things: some icons, sprays, banner, and a skin. There are sprays coming to the game. This is something that was leaked last week, and now it's official. Sprays similar to like Overwatch. If you guys play Overwatch, there are sprays in that game. Gonna be the same thing. Store stuff coming into the store. Peppermint Kalari. This is the skin they gave out for free last year. Going to be in the store. Iggy gets a Christmas skin. Richter gets his very, very iconic Krampus skin. Old Saint Rick. This is going to be one of the better skins in the game. Ace did say that this has slight VFX changes to it. It's not completely new VFX, but it does have some VFX changes. We do not know the prices of these skins yet, just to be clear. I don't know. I have not been told them. I don't know how much they'll be, so we don't know. Hopefully they're not, absurdly priced as some of their skins have been in the past. But then the last one here is Frost King Revenant. This is a fully, again, they say it here, it's our first legendary skin. It includes new audio and new visual effects, modifications to his voiceover, and the skin, of course, changes the look of the character. So new VFX, new sound effects. This is like the first real, tier 4 skin that they've added to the game. We'll have to see how it looks in game and how much it costs before I make real judgments on it, right? I'm looking at a picture of it. I don't know what it sounds like. I don't know what the abilities look like, all that kind of stuff. I can't really make a judgment on this until I see it, hear it, and know how much it costs. There are some bundles coming to the shop. So there's a bundle that'll get you all of kind of the lower level skins on top of some banners and some sprays. And then there's a bundle for the Revenant skin that will get you an icon banner spray on top of the skin. Again, bundles are fine. Saving money is always good. It just, again, we don't know the costs, and I can't really make a statement on it until I know the cost. Iggy gets a recolor as well. Very cool. Sprays are coming to the game. Very cool. Controller improvements. Very cool. I don't play on controllers, so I don't really know what all of those means. Hero unlocks adjustments. Again, very cool. This doesn't really affect, like, me. I don't. Some of the heroes are getting easier to unlock, and some of them are getting harder to unlock. They're just fine-tuning stuff. They're doing a goal based on how many console referrals they get. So based on how many referrals are done community-wide, we will get some stuff. So 20,000 referrals is a profile icon, 30,000 profile banner, and 50,000 a Greystone skin. We'll see if we hit that. Right now, I think the last number that I heard as of recording this was like 46 or 47,000 people in queue. So we're obviously not at the 50,000 mark yet, because if there's only 40,000 people in queue, there can't be 50,000 referrals. But we'll see if we can get there over the month of December. New items. This is formatted kind of weird. This says new items, but it doesn't get into the new items until the item part. This is what they look. This is just a... Oh, that's not what I wanted to have happen. This is just a picture of the item art. So, yeah. Moving on, ability buffering improvements. I have mixed feelings about this. I will be completely honest with you. For those of you that don't know what ability buffering is, I'll give you guys a quick refresher. Ability buffering is when you are in the middle of an animation, you can press a next key, and then the ability will go off at the first possible moment after your ability is done, instead of having to wait for your first ability to finish and then press the key. So, like on Crunch, this is already in the game, just by the way. On some characters, at least, this is already in the game. So, like, Crunch is a very easy one to look at because his Q is a pretty long animation. So, if you press Q and then press E, you literally just QE, your E will go off when you're done with your Q. You won't have time to weave it. It will not auto-attack in between, even if you're holding left-click. It will just use both abilities back-to-back. I have mixed feelings about this. To keep it short, I think you should press your ability when it's time. I just think get good is kind of my answer to that. That's the answer that Ace would give me if I complained about something. So that's the answer that I'll give them on making shit like this easier. I just personally don't agree with it. The main issue, there's two things specifically in this that I don't like. Number one is the ability to buffer abilities that can only be cast on the ground. I think this is just not really, like, just land and then press the ability key. I personally, I just kind of don't like this. I feel like this is going to hurt a lot more than help as well. Because if you're falling and you go to aim an ability and then you hit the ground and it buffers, but the enemy moved, you know, that kind of thing, I don't know. I personally, I don't like this. Maybe it feels really good and I just don't know it. I don't know. And then the other one is that you can buffer abilities while you're hard crowd controlled, which I just don't like that either. Because what's going to happen is, again, this is the best example I can give is Bellica stun. If you were to Richter ult a Bellica and then try to hook her after your ult, with you being able to buffer Bellica Q, Richter will lose that interaction, actually. Richter hook comes out way slower than Bellica stun. Bellica stun will stun you before you hook her, ping depending nearly every time. So I don't like being able to buffer under hard CC. I think you should have to hit your ability when the hard CC ends. Even if you're mashing the button, go for it. You know, that's just my personal opinion. Lots of you might disagree with that. Just figured I'd give my thoughts. Moving on, PlayStation closed beta. So they talk about how many keys they're giving out. This is kind of nuts. They aim to deliver between 5,000 and 10,000 codes in each wave, and waves going out once or twice a day till they reach everyone in queue. And then once they reach everyone in queue, you'll just basically get in when you sign up. The first wave of keys will be 10,000 players, which is a lot, and that'll be on December 5th. That's a lot of players. Other improvements, I don't think there's really anything in here that's crazy. The main one in here that's good is improved Murdoch's primary attack sound effect. Those of you that know, Murdoch's attack sound got just destroyed in the last patch, so they're changing it. Hopefully it becomes good again. Hero changes. Time for some of these. Crunch gets some weird changes. So this is healing bonus, physical power scaling. I've been told varying things about what this number means. I've been told that yes, Crunch has innate lifesteal on his Q. This is his Q. I don't know if that's true. That's one of the things that I've been told, and it's being reduced. The other thing I've been told is that this is a misprint, and this is his physical power scaling is being reduced. Honestly, I don't know which one it is. It really kind of doesn't matter. Recrunch, this is his ultimate. The healing from his ultimate, the scaling is being reduced. So the healing based on your power is being reduced by magical and physical. And then it's getting a bug fix, hard air quotes, to where it no longer heals off towers. This is healed off of towers for like the last 8 months, and now they are bug fixing it. I talked about this a little bit. I won't go into details. I don't like this. This is just a nerf. If it's a bug for 8 months, it became a feature. This just needs to be listed as a nerf, not a bug fix. It just irks me. That's all. Fang Mao gets some bonus shield. Gideon, another bug fix. He can no longer gain abnormal extended range off of his torn space. For those of you that don't know, if you jump and then use Gideon E, you'll fly out of it really far. You just maintain a lot of momentum coming out of the portal, which is broken. It was very obviously a bug. They kept it in the game for the last year, which again, to me, this falls under the same thing as the Gideon thing, or as the Crunch thing. If you're going to keep this in the game for a year, it kind of becomes a feature at that point. Like, at what point does an unintended bug become a feature? At this point, it kind of just strikes me as a feature, and then, in my opinion, it should just be listed as a nerf. But that's just me. Good change. This will make Gideon a lot easier to play around. Right now, you can almost double the distance of Gideon Portal by jumping out of it. It's kind of nuts, so this is a good change. Chimera gets the cooldown on his jump increased by a second at every level, and he gains 3 stacks instead of 5. Kai's kind of a menace. This was probably warranted. Narbash no longer activates item effects when you start your E. The only interaction with this that I can think of is Wellspring. Wellspring's first passive heals for a very small amount whenever you use an ability. So if you only needed to heal one person on your team, you could actually heal them faster by turning Narbash heals on and off really quickly. That's really the only interaction this is for. That's fine. Twin Blast gets the lingering hitbox of his right click removed. Good. That's super annoying. Wraith gets bonus damage. He gets the power scaling on his auto attacks goes up, and the damage on his right click goes up a little bit. I think this character is pretty strong right now, to be honest. I think that he's very skill dependent, which is why his win rate probably doesn't reflect his strength. But I think he's really good, so they're buffing him. And it's not a huge buff, to be honest. Like, it's 5 damage at every level on his right click and 5% scaling. It's not insane, but I do think he's already good, so watch out for Wraith. Item changes. This is where it's going to start getting spicy. There's a lot of item changes. I know we're 13 minutes in right now. There's a lot of item changes. I'm going to do my best to go through them fast and mostly talk about the new items. So Tranquility, damage mitigation, duration decreased. Very cool. Still good. Spell Slasher. This will apply to all of the Spell Slasher items. So Augmentation and Oathkeeper. And then I think there's a new one that I don't remember the name of. But the cooldown now triggers after you hit something with your auto attack, not when you use your ability. So you can no longer stack back-to-back activations, which is how it should have been. I think it was fine before, realistically, but this is how it probably should be. Spellblade damage now hits towers. This applies to Augmentation and Oathkeeper. So split pushing Crunch, maybe a little more OP now. And then the duration that you have to use it goes down a little bit. This is just a new tier 2 item. I'm not really going to go over a lot of these, to be honest. Chaotic Core was an old tier 2 item that I think they removed from the game and brought it back as something completely different. This is fine. These are good stats for the cost. Now you have a good health and power tier 2. Divine Wreath gets the mana regen taken off of it. So some of these, the formatting on their patch notes has gotten a tiny bit better. It's still not fantastic. Divine Wreath stats are now 15 power, 10 heal and shield power for 900 gold. It has no mana regen on it at all. Just so you know. Augmentation just gets the Spellblade changes. Bonesaw gets a recipe change. Improves the recipe. There's a couple items like this. Dreambinder gets the same thing. Improves the recipe, makes it way better. Lifebinder improves the recipe, makes it way better. Magnify gets a rework. Magnify is no longer it's no longer a shred item. Magnify now gives you power, attack speed, and health. And when you hit an enemy with 3 basics, an enemy hero, that is, or a monster, it works on Prime and Fangtooth. But if you hit an enemy with 3 basics, and then your next ability does a bunch of bonus damage. This is a lot of bonus damage. 80 base plus 40% magic power scaling is nuts. Late game, if you have 600 power, right, 40% of that is 240. So you're getting an extra 300 damage on your ability. It's pretty nuts. And the only cooldown on this being how fast can you land 3 basic attacks. I think this is going to be pretty good, at least on a couple of characters. Megacosm gets a damage nerf to its passive. Good. This is still just such a good item against tanks that I would guess you still see this. Oathkeeper gets the same spell slasher changes. Prophecy gets a cooldown reduction increase. That's fine. Wellspring gets a build change, a recipe change. That's fine. They nerfed a Divine Wreath, so they have to put mana regen somewhere else into the Wellspring build path. Bingo. Elefrost gets a rework. Bummer for all you Elefrost stands out there. No more Elefrost for you. Well, okay. It's better now, trust me. But Elefrost is now an armor item. This gives health, armor, haste, and its passive it's now like a spell slasher item. So after you use an ability, your next basic within 4 seconds, again, as all spell slashers are, does additional damage based on physical power and bonus health. So keep this in mind. 4.5% of your bonus health as bonus damage. So if you have, it's not uncommon for a lot of builds to have, 1,500 extra bonus health. 4.5% of that is like 80, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a decent amount. And this is magical damage, which is interesting, but it also slows the target and people around the target for half a second on a 1.5 second cooldown. So now you're going to be able to stick to people. I think this is going to be really good on Greystone specifically, but I think this will be useful on any auto attack weaving character. And then its second passive is that you restore mana when you hit people with it. Tectonic Mallet gets a power nerf. That's very good. Tainted Bastion gets a mitigation nerf. This is, again, another formatting weird thing on this. The mitigation is getting reduced from 6% to 5%. So obviously when someone's tainted, it's doubled. So it's getting reduced from 12% to 10% against tainted enemies. Probably warranted. That item it's a sleeper item. I don't see it too much, but it's very good. Citadel gets a recipe change. Very cool. Stone of Strength. This is another tier 2 item. Onyxian Quiver. This is another one of the new ones. This is the triple shot item. So this item is attack speed and crit. No power on this item. And it's if you're a ranged hero, you fire 2 additional projectiles that do damage based on how far they travel. And the damage is based off of your physical power. It's not like a percentage of your auto attack damage. They can critically strike. I'm assuming they apply on-hit effects. It doesn't say necessarily, but I'm assuming they do. Damage to monsters is lessened. And then the other one is melee heroes. Melee heroes gain 2% attack speed and 1% damage mit for every 10% missing health. That seems so. Again, so I'm gonna asterisk this. It seems really good. The ranged hero part seems like kind of mediocre to me. The melee one seems really, really good. I just want to point out the base stats on this item are terrible. They suck. 40% attack speed, 25% crit chance are not good base stats, especially for a melee hero. If you're not getting health on an item like that, it's not very good. And then the other thing I want to point out is the maximum of 20% attack speed and 10% damage mit is at 0% HP. right? So if you're sitting at 30% health in a fight, or even half health in a fight, it's only 10% attack speed and 5% damage mitt. I think that this item will be not very good, to be completely honest with you. If they want this to be good on melees, there's a simple fix, and the fix is give the damage mitt and give these stats for every like 7% missing health instead of 10. That way you get max stacks at like 30% HP, so when you're low, you're really strong, but you don't have to be literally 0%. If that's something they want to do in the future, then that's how you would make this item good. Stormbreaker gets a bit of a rework. It does a very similar thing to what it did before, but instead of disabling your crit chance, Stormbreaker currently, if you buy it, you can no longer crit. Instead of doing that, the zap damage of it is going to increase based on how many enemies you've killed. So every minion you've killed will increase the chain lightning damage by 1 up to 200. Other than that, the item effectively works the same way. Echelon Cloak. This one's interesting. So, first of all, it's pretty cheap. Second of all, stats on it are pretty good for the cost. Power, attack speed, health, and haste are pretty good base stats. I have mixed feelings. So standing still and don't take damage for 2.5 seconds to become camouflaged. This is the exact same as Kalari's stealth. If someone comes close enough to you, they can see you, but if they're far enough away, you are invisible. They call it camouflage. Once you become camouflaged, you can move around a little bit within that, but you have an area around you that if you leave it, you become visible. Casting an ability, receiving damage will end the effect. There you go. While camouflaged, regenerate 2% of your missing health and mana every second. Upon leaving camouflage, increase your damage dealt by 8% for 3 seconds. Now, this obviously looks off of the bat like a Kalari item, and I think it probably will be, because assuming that upon leaving camouflage works on Kalari stealth, which I think someone in my chat said that it does, but I don't know. I might be tripping. If this works on Kalari, then 8% extra damage for leaving stealth on Kalari seems pretty good. I personally think this is going to be nuts on tanks. The idea that you can stealth and set up engages on your tanks is nuts. And on top of that, it works as late game. This is going to be like 8 health pots. The amount of health you're going to be able to regen off of this is going to be nuts. I think this is going to be a really, really strong item, which is, again, my opinion based on the stats and never having played the patch. That's my opinion. Envy. This one is interesting because I almost like it. It's, again, pretty cheap, but not super high stats. Power, low pen, haste, a little bit of mana. Upon dashing or leaping with an ability, so using a movement ability, or exiting camouflage, your next basic attack within 3 seconds will automatically critically strike. I have mixed feelings about this because personally, I don't think you should be able to guaranteed crit when you have 0% crit chance. That's my opinion. I think that if this was gain 30% crit chance after dashing or whatever, that's fine, because then at least it's an RNG angle. 100% crit chance, kind of nuts. I think this will be kind of nuts. And then on top of that, its second passive is crit chance or crit strikes. Critical when you crit people, your abilities become empowered for 3 seconds to deal 10% bonus physical damage. Overall, I think this is a cool idea for an item. Not sure if it's the right direction to take it. I think it will be. I think this one is another one that I think will be very, very strong. Skeptical, but haven't played it yet. Berserker's Axe. This is another cool one that I'm scared of, to be honest. So this is power, physical power, health, and move speed as a base stat. Move speed's a very, very powerful stat. Just keep that in mind. And then its passives are upon dashing or leaping with an ability. I don't know why they're trying to put so much emphasis on this. It feels a little weird to me. I just haven't quite figured it out on why some characters are going to have these items available to them and some aren't. Maybe it's just for build diversity. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I don't know. Your next basic within 3 seconds will deal an additional 50 plus 7% bonus health, which is a lot. It's a lot of damage. That's late game. This is going to be like 150 bonus damage, right? Which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot. And slow the target by 50% for 3/4 of a second. And then basic attacks reduce the cooldown of this passive by half a second. It's on a 12-second passive, or a 12-second cooldown. This one I think is good. The second passive is that walking through a fog wall makes you faster. I think this one is interesting. I haven't quite decided where I'm at because the first passive, the bonus health damage passive, is very limiting to activate. It's going to be hard to activate. I'm not sold on it, but I think that it, and again, maybe this is the point of the item. On certain characters, I think it's going to be busted. Like Greystone specifically, I think this is going to be like just kind of busted. So we'll see exactly how it works. Obviously, I haven't played the patch. We'll just kind of have to see. Bone Seeker. This is a cool one. I actually like this one because this one I think has a lot of applications, which is a good thing. So, attack speed, health, and haste. No power on this item. Just keep that in mind. Basic attacks against enemy heroes. Mark them as your target and increase your damage dealt to them by 2% for 4 seconds. Additional basic attacks stack this effect up to 10 times for a max of 20% increased damage. Changing targets resets your stacks. So this is actually, to be completely honest, this is one of the first items in Pred that is actually, I don't know if this is a League item also, but this is a Smite item. This is Executioner. This is one of the glyphs to Executioner. This is one of the Executioner upgrades. Unfortunately, to be completely honest, it doesn't do it quite as well as Smite does. Smite's Executioner is on a 20-second cooldown, but the target doesn't change. So the first person you hit gets that thing, and it lasts for X amount of seconds. It lasts for 10 seconds, and the more you hit them, the more damage you do, but you don't get to change targets. So there's an upside and a downside. This one, if you're able to hit one person, you'll be able to get that as much as you want, and then you can switch targets immediately and still get bonus damage. But if you're ever in a fight with, if you're in a 5v5, this is just going to be useless, right? This passive will never ever matter. Who knows, right? There's an upside and a downside and a medium side and a left side and a right side. We'll see how it goes. I like the idea. I like the stat spread. I think it's an interesting stat spread. We don't really have something like that. So that's cool. And then its second passive is that basic attacks deal more damage and grant 3% move speed. Giving move speed on basic attacking people in a game where there's no auto attack penalty, I don't like. If there was a harsher auto attack penalty, I wouldn't mind this, but this is just going to be Rux running you down and you'll never get away, which I think is going to be super annoying. But anyway, moving on, Orb of Growth and Orb of Enlightenment. These are two items that are tied together. Orb of Growth is a tier 1. Essentially, it's a full item, but it evolves. So Orb of Enlightenment is the evolved form. Orb of Growth has pretty mediocre base stats on it, but killing enemy monsters and minions grants bonus experience up to 500, and once you gain 500, you evolve the item into Orb of Enlightenment. This item feels like it should be nuts to me. I've been told by my friends in testing that they think this item is too slow to be OP. I personally am inclined to disagree. Having never played it, I'm inclined to disagree. The second passive on this is that casting an ability restores 4% of your missing health. Also really good. A lot of mages don't have a lot of lifesteal, so that's very nice to be able to sustain. And then Orb of Enlightenment. The second passive is for each hero level, gain 2 magic power, 10 health, 20 mana, and 1 ability haste. So the max stats on this are 91 magical power. What is that? 10 health, so this is like 350... Right, no, almost 450 health, 500 mana, and 20-something ability haste. The stats on this item late game are insane. Whether or not it will be worth it to buy early game is going to be the question. We'll have to see. Spirit of Amir. This one's pretty cool. This is another mage item. Power, magic lifesteal, which, again, second item with magical lifesteal. Very cool. Ability haste and move speed. I don't personally like them just dumping move speed onto items, because this one particularly, I just don't think needs it. But while you're in the jungle, you gain 6% magical lifesteal. While out of the jungle, you gain 8% increased magical power. That's a lot. Just by the way, that's a lot of magical power increase. I don't know exactly what the interaction with Oblivion Crown is going to be, but I'm assuming they, interact favorably, which means that this is a lot. And then killing an enemy unit restores missing mana, and then it's more against heroes. This thing doesn't really matter. this thing really matters. I think this will be a solid item in mid. I'm not sure if this is going to need a build around. I think the base stats on it are good enough to where you can kind of just throw it into any build. Wind Caller. So, magic power, health, ability haste, heal, and shield power. And then auto attacks restore 1% of your missing mana, doubled against heroes. And then healing or shielding an ally grants you both 10% movement speed for 1.5 seconds. And this has a cooldown per target. This is really, like, Narbash and Muriel are probably the only people using this. FaZe maybe, but I don't know. I think this is a good alternative to some of the other items that are in the game. I think heal and shield power items are lacking. There's like 3 of them. I'd like to see more. This is one of them. I think it's a cool idea. Being able to regen mana, giving movement speed. I think this will be a solid item. Frost Lure. This is the one that I'm worried about, to be completely honest. As far as bruiser items go, this is the one that I am worried about the most. So, first of all, fairly cheap. Health, armor, haste. It's not a lot of health, it's not a lot of armor, and it's not a lot of haste. But the stats are pretty similar to Fire Blossom, and Fire Blossom gets picked up all the time. So, stand near enemy heroes for 4 seconds to unleash a pulse of energy, dealing 40 plus 7% max health damage as true damage to all nearby enemy heroes, slowing them by 40%, and this is on a 45-second cooldown. So there's a couple things about this item that scare me. First of all, true damage, always really good, especially on tank builds. If you're not building pen, true damage is OP. 7% max health damage is nuts. And it's not uncommon to see tanks late game with 4,500, 5,000 health, and 7% of that is, if you have 5,000 health, 7% of that is like 400, which is a lot of bonus damage, of free damage to get, right? And then the other part of this is that Frost Wave, which is the first passive, it shields you for 120% of the damage dealt. So if you're able to hit this on multiple targets, you're going to get a fat shield out of it. Shields are unaffected by protection, so they don't really make you a crazy amount tankier, but bonus health is bonus health. So this one I think will be very good, to be honest. I think this is going to be a very, very good bruiser item out of the solo lane in the jungle. I think this is going to be very solid, even maybe a support item, to be honest, just because of how cheap it is. We'll see exactly how this goes. Tainted Totem gets a rework, so this is now a magic power, regen, health, haste item. And the passive is that dealing damage to enemy heroes reduces their healing, blights them by 40%. This is just dealing damage, period. The other ones are like physical or magical. This one is just dealing damage. Blighted Well. So healing and shielding allies grants the effects of Blighted Touch for 4 seconds, which basically means whenever you heal or shield an ally, if that ally damages an enemy, that enemy gets anti-heal. This one I don't like. I just don't. This first passive is fine. The second passive I don't like. Being able to give your entire team anti-heal and only one person has to itemize into it defeats the purpose of anti-heal. The purpose of anti-heal is to have to buy a somewhat weaker item for the upside of the enemy heals less. That is the purpose of anti-heal, right? If the enemies, you will do a little less damage because your item is a little weaker, but the enemy won't heal, so that trade-off is worth it. With this, there's no trade-off. You just buy this item on Narbash, and then your entire team can anti-heal the enemy team. And I personally just don't agree with that. I think that, I just think it defeats the purpose. Moving on, Giant's Ring. This one's cool. So this is health, armor, haste. Decent amount of armor, just by the way. This is pretty comparable stats to Tainted Guard. Basic attacks from enemy heroes reduce current basic ability cooldowns by 0.25. And the Gigantism passive, when you cast your ultimate, gain 20% increased size, reduce damage taken by 8%, double the effectiveness of the first passive. So when you press your ult button, you will be bigger, you will have 8% damage mitigation, and you will be getting your cooldowns reduced by half a second every time you get hit by a basic, or when you get hit by a basic attack. This one I think is cool. I don't know who it's going to be used on. Like, Rampage is obviously kind of the number one that comes to the forefront of your mind. Just because you already get so big, being a little bit bigger is not an issue for Rampage. But on a lot of characters, I just don't know exactly how this is going to be. Some characters gain bonuses. Currently, Saphir's Mantle is in the game. It makes you bigger when you use it. Some characters gain bonuses off of that. Like, Gideon ult gets bigger, Grux pole gets longer, that kind of thing. So depending on how those interactions work, like if you're on Richter, does your ult get bigger before you use it? Like, does it get bigger the moment you touch the button, which would make your ult bigger when it hits people? Or does it give you bigger when your ult ends and then your ult doesn't benefit from it? There are some interaction things that will depend on how good this is on certain characters. But I think that there will be characters that would be good with this. Grux, Rampage, probably Richter, maybe even Steel, right? There will be good characters with this. This is a cool item. And then Warden's Faith gets its passive change because obviously this is Warden's Faith current passive. Nearby enemy heroes have their physical power reduced by 6%. I don't hate it. I think that it's a pretty low number. The amount of physical power you can get in a game anyway isn't insane. Will this even save, like if you're standing next to your carry and a Kalari goes on your carry, will this even save your carry from getting one shot? I don't know. Right, this one's pretty minor. I think Warden's Faith is still good. Obviously, it still has the anti-crit passive on it. So we'll see exactly how good this is. Minion changes. This is really long. If you want to pause and read it, you can. I'll summarize. Minions are getting easier to kill. The execute threshold on minions is increasing, so they'll be easier to kill. They're making it, again, more intuitive to farm under tower, which I don't really know what that means. I haven't played with it. I don't know what all the different thresholds are going to be, but this is going to make it basically just a little bit easier to farm. Structure changes. The core will do less damage to heroes. Very cool. Bug fixes. I feel like there was one bug fix in here that was good, right? Yeah. So this is the one that matters. Sereth will no longer get pulled by Faye ultimate while she's using her Q. Good. Finally. It's been like 3 months. We finally got that one fixed. Currently, if you Faye ult Sereth before she Qs, it will pull her out of it. Not how the interaction should work. They're fixing that. That's the one that I found in here that matters. If there are any other bug fixes that you think are truly matter, just let me know in the comments. If you guys have any questions about the new items at all, that's the end of the patch notes. So if you guys have questions about the new items, you want my opinion on something specific, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think of the patch as a whole. Overall, I know there are a couple things that I sound negative about, but overall, I'm going to give the patch like an 8 out of 10. Right, that's a lot of new items, decent hero changes, new hero console. The patch as a whole is going to be really good. There are a few things that I still obviously disagree with Omida about as far as how to operate them within the game. I'm not the dev. I don't get to make those choices. Is what it is. I can disagree as much as I want, right? That's just kind of end of story. Overall, patch, I think, will be good. Fingers crossed that it's good at least, right? Obviously. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. That's all I've got for you today. So as always, I've been Pinzo. This video's donezo. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.